The topic was his topic of discussion will be empowering MSMEs by digital transformation. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce today's dynamic speaker, C. Narasimhan Ellen Govan. He have many degrees in his caps like BCom, FCA, CS, DSA, and goes on. The list goes on. C. Narasimhan Ellen Govan, a futuristic GRC professional keynote speaker. His areas of practice are what many of the CS have just read in books. In the past few years, he has also been advising in the emerging areas of technology such as AI, blockchain, cloud computing and cyber security and big data. He has regularly spoken on these domains in the national and international forums. He is a faculty for DISA, CISA and course on blockchain technology. He has authored more than 4 books for ICAI, CA, etc. on technology. He has often addressed the ICAI international conferences at Asia, Europe, Africa, North America and was often amongst the top rated and youngest speaker. He has spoken at international conferences at Dubai, Malaysia, Bangkok, Saudi Arabia, Geneva, Doha, Nairobi, Singapore, Nigeria, Bahrain and many more countries. He has been identified as one of the top 10 influential consulting leaders 2020 and annual recognition for torchbearers in the consulting sphere by CEO Insights magazine. Thank you.
A very good morning. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. Thank you so much for this wonderful gesture. And today I bring to you a very interesting topic. A topic where everybody is speaking in the world. Digitization. The entire world is saying we have to digitize, you have to digitize, you have to digitize. What to digitize, they're not saying. That's the other part of the story. Right from the time we start our very first activity in the morning. Earlier it was Prabhate Kara Darshanam. Today it is Prabhate Mobile Darshanam. Right? And we have so many apps, so many notifications. We are actually losing all over these things. And we are having a very interesting time if you ask me. Why? The way the entire world, especially after the pandemic, has changed to something dramatic. Your competitor for Netflix is not Amazon Prime. It is a person's sleep. If I am able to win over a person's sleep, even by 30 minutes, if I am able to extend his sleep, Netflix has won the market. Likewise for Amazon Prime or any other OTT platform. You look into a very interesting analogy which, the CEO of Mercedes brought up. He said, I am not able to sell a Mercedes car because many of the upper middle class prefer to invest in equity SIPs and not in a Mercedes car. A very interesting argument. Which means the spend pattern of a person today has changed to where he sees value. And that is the trigger point for us to think in terms of our digitization. In terms of, hopefully this works. Here. This way? Okay. Thank you. No. Okay, we'll leave it there. So this is where technology sometimes becomes very interesting, right? It will work at all the time. Exactly when the time it's supposed to work, it will not work. Just like our minds, it will work 24/7 until we go to an exam hall, right? It always gets stuck, right? So I thought I'll take you through 4 broad areas in the interest of time and in the interest of, the small gathering which we have, right? First, I'll take you through what is the state of affairs, what all the MSMEs go through. And when I consider as MSMEs, there are of course chartered accountants here, the members from industry, there are entrepreneurs, first generation, second generation, third generation entrepreneurs. The challenges each of us go through are some of them which I've tried to summarize. Second, why digitization is so important, and this is the right time. This is the right time, right? And what do I digitize and what is next? So those are a few things which I want to take you through. Yeah. This is the current state of affairs, and as the image says, all of us are loading. Why? Somewhere somebody would have said that, hey, let us digitize this, or let us use one software here, let us bring up this thing here. And we would have started the journey and halfway left it. An example is, suddenly you heard one session and you got interested to download one app. You downloaded that. That 2 hours you spent extremely on that app to identify the features, this, that. After that it's forgotten. It's mostly like the advice which our teachers and parents or mentors would have given, right? That day and the next day we feel very, very energetic towards it. Afterwards there's no more. Forget that. The best part is the New Year resolution. Most of the time, the January first week, the parks are always filled. After that, parks are as always normal, right? So what am I speaking about the current state of affairs? Yes, please. The first question which every entrepreneur asks, where did my profits go? I am earning, I am struggling, I am having so many transactions, but where did my profits go? Right? If I have to probably look into it, every 20th, probably some of you yesterday, or 22nd, 23rd, depending on how the regulation is, you have to pay your GST, and you look into your bank balance, the common question is just, sir, so much GST I have to pay. Right? Let's take one step ahead. Every quarter there is an CA who sends an intimation of advance tax. Sir, income illa yen sir tax madodu. Right? So that's another interesting argument which is presented. Next, every September when I file the income tax return, additional tax also I have to pay. Some people call it a self-assessment tax. We don't understand what it is. Some tax I have to pay. I just paid one tax on September 15th. Again you are asking to pay on September 30th. Right? And the best part, sir, you are saying so much profit I earned, but in my bank balance nothing is there. All of us go through this, right? All of us, these are all common thought, right? And not to forget the standalone expenses which keep on occurring every month. I have salaries to pay, I have rent to pay, I have my PT, EF, ESI, I don't know, whatever ABC. Tomorrow new tax comes, I have to pay everything. But the real question is, where did my money go? Right? Let's move on. If I give typically a balance sheet or a P&L statement, right? It looks something like this. A lot of information is there, but towards the end it says a profit of 1 lakh rupees you have earned for the month, for the quarter, whatever it is, for a period, let us say. So you feel very, very happy, I have made a profit of 1 lakh rupees. The next question is, where is this 1 lakh? Right? Let's see where that 1 lakh goes. Because my bank balance is exactly like this. I don't have anything. I'm completely blank. Me in an exam hall. Or me the first time I met my girlfriend or my spouse or whatever, to be spouse, right? Completely blank. Right? And that is exactly how my bank balance is. But if I look one step backwards, or just take one step ahead, the first question which all of us probably should ask ourselves is, did I even analyze another document called as a balance sheet? Right? Because most of the time when we give it to entrepreneurs, their analysis is how much my profit. But just take one step ahead after looking into the profit, look into a very, very important document called as a balance sheet, which people call it a statement of affairs and whatever not, right? And if you see the balance sheet, this is how it looked like. An interesting thing, most of us see a balance sheet only as on a particular date. A balance sheet should never be seen on a particular date. It should be seen what is the delta between the periods. And when you see the delta between the periods, you realize what is the change. And if you look very, very carefully into this balance sheet towards the toe end, it says your assets has gone up by 76,000. Whatever, dollars, rupees, whatever currency, don't bother. Month, per quarter, it's not the question. Your assets have gone up by 76,000. That means you earned a profit of 117 or 100 and whatever, 110. Your profit, your balance sheet has actually gone over there and said, and if you do a little more detailed analysis, you will realize your bank balance has increased, some other thing has come down, so many analysis you can perform. I'm not going to the intricate figure, right? And many a times we don't realize my debtor balance has completely shot up. And these debtors are those guys who actually are my customers who need to give me the money. Fantastic. But are they giving the money? They have a credit period. They have a long history. We have to follow. There are bad debts. So there's a whole lot of cycles involved within that. right? And not to forget, you have your GST refunds, income tax refunds, tax credits and whatnot. So all your money is actually gone and stuck there. Let's move ahead. This is just one side of the balance sheet, right? You have the other side of balance sheet. Your liabilities have fallen down in this particular context by 30,000 odd rupees. Which means what? I had an increase of an asset of 70. My liabilities have decreased. That means I earned so much money that I was able to repay my liabilities, which is fantastic for a business. Right? But if I analyze both of this, and this is where my profit is actually gone. This is where my profit is. My assets have shot up. My liabilities have come down, and that delta is what it is. Now within this comes the various elements of your drawings, your salary, your proprietor salary, whatever you can call it. Now why am I bringing up this very fundamental thing, right? Many of us do not realize that this is the fundamental of business. The ego unte moment comes in. Yes or no? Because never look into a business purely from a balance sheet and a P&L angle. It will never give you any sort of results. You know, you must be wondering, why am I speaking about digitization and what is connected to this? Hang on, I'm just connecting the dots. Because nothing is more important to a business than its own finances, than its own very accounting principle. And that if it cannot get digitized, my dear friends, the entire digitization journey will fail. Right? I can talk about using robots, I can talk about using cobots. Cobots are robots and human beings working together. I can talk about cyborgs. All of those things are very nice to hear. But reality is, what is in for me? What is it that I can do tomorrow if I go? That is the focus point for us, I think we have to focus on. And therefore, if you go into the next slide, your profit will never reflect in the bank account. It is because of these reasons. It is appropriated, you have invested, you have put into some other case, right? It is invested in assets, repayment of loans, liabilities, lot of these things. And how will an entrepreneur sense this? How will an MSME get to know this? Unless you have your accounting up to date. Hey, hang on. I have other things to remember. A GST is not paid from your pocket. You are merely doing a postman job, transferring from one to another. Why are we using that for working capital? It's an incorrect thing, right? And look at TDS. Many of them presume TDS, that our customer is deducting tax and therefore that's an expense for me. No. Instead of you paying taxes to the government, he is paying on your behalf. So therefore it's no longer an expense. That means it's a cash flow item. And not to forget, a debtor outstanding is always nice in the books, but it is better when he comes as cash. Now why am I talking about these very prudent and basic fundamentals of accounting? Because this is where today, if you look into most of the business, they don't have track of it. I'll give a simple example. You open your debtor ledger. When do you know, or do you know when your debtor made the last payment or your customer made the last payment? What is your customer outstanding history? The answer is no. Do I know when to make my payment to my creditors? Yes, whenever I have funds. And when do I have funds? I will never have funds. As a result, the entire cycle, it's a vicious circle. And what is an example of a vicious circle? Simple. My girlfriend is afraid of cockroach. Right? My girlfriend is afraid of cockroach. Cockroach is afraid of something else. Something else is afraid of something else. And that something else is afraid of a human being, which is me. And I am afraid of my girlfriend. Over. It's a vicious cycle. One impact on one end impacts the whole ecosystem. And the simple rule which you can solve over here is bringing in the stability. Right? Let's see how this entire setup works. Cash flow, my dear friends, is the real king in the entire business. And frankly, look into it. When was the last time you looked into your cash flow statements? The most common answer is, cash flow is not applicable to MSMEs according to Accounting Standard 3. Right? This is where the challenge is. Right? And most of the time, please move sir. Most of the time, the P&L account is seen on September 30th. When? Just before it is uploaded to the income tax website. Agree? Reality? Now, why a whole lot of these problems are actually coming in? It is because the root cause is very, very simple. The line which you see below is actually the root cause. Your financial and accounting systems are not up to date. I'll simply put it that way. Are not up to date. And not how up to date? No sir, last month accounting is pending is still okay. Sir, last year accounting is pending is a problem. Right? And this is where the first mantra of digitization comes into picture. Streamlining your accounts and finance. I'll speak about a few practical tips. Tools are hundreds are available, sir. Tools are hundreds. Today you buy one product, tomorrow you can buy another product. Right? The question is, when I speak about digitization, it is first in the mind, then in action. If mind itself is not clear, action will never take place. Because you will say, this tool is good, you will buy that. How many days you will use? 14 days. Why? 14-day free trial is there. 15th day, hey, I have to pay for this, don't bother. 16th day, one more tool came. Start that. And where did we land? Nowhere. Right? And this is where most of the reasons, and this is not a phenomenon only with us, let me tell you. Entire globe runs on the same thing. You look into any of the global conferences where MSME, they talk about not macro trends, micro trends. Micro trends. Macro trends, everybody will say MSME is the backbone, this, that, all of those things. Micro problems are this. What is it? The whole and the sole purpose is your financial systems are actually not giving you the data which you want. Right? But how do I prepare it? How do I get better insights? And this is where, my dear friends, I'm telling you, digitization is the need. And it starts with the most easiest and the most simple thing. Why do I say it's the most easiest and the most simple thing? Sir, you already know your entire transactions which are occurring. Right? You don't require a third or an independent somebody else who have to come and say, hey, this, that. You already know your line of business. Okay, the smaller nuances you may not be aware, but you are aware of it. And how do you bring up into a digital platform? That is where the focus is. So why digitization is becoming so very important is something which the entire world is speaking. The reality is this. You agree? Today, this kid is asking, why don't you give me a wireless, painless treatment? My dear friends, look exactly 3 to 5 years down the lane. We are talking about an era of entrepreneurs who are very, very tech savvy, who want everything in a click of a button, who is appifying everything. They are the Instagram generation where they will make a small thing, put it into a reel, nothing wrong in it. But if your finance and accounting is not so very clear, let me tell you, you will not even have money to pay the internet bill for making your Insta reels. And that is the hard reality. Why? Most of us aspire that I am on this side, I want to grow big. When you're looking into the bigger picture, the smaller things are often forgotten, and that is the reason which I want to focus on. Yes, sir. And many of us think, oh, digitization, tomorrow only I buy all the products, all the this thing, everything sample, I will buy it. You will only land up with 10 days just browsing the products, doing nothing. Because digitization depends on these 4 or 5 factors. The nature of entity of yours. It could be a service sector, it could be a manufacturing sector. It could be something to do with export of garments, it could be something to do with local produce. I had very, very interesting case. A month back when we had a very interesting conversation, I'd been to a textile belt. And there, the company is scaling up so well and they have a very, very standardized system. Very happy. But they said, sir, tomorrow when we scale from a B2B to B2C, I do not have systems available. Yes, because a B2C is a very, very profitable game. But it requires a lot of streamlining of process. A simple example, you are manufacturing a beautiful product, you are selling it to another business entities, they are consuming, they are marketing, etc. But there your margins are 10 to 20% or 5 to 8%, depends on the project and stuff. But If you look into B2C, that's where your margins are. Today, this is a very, very fancy concept in the startup world called as D2C, direct to consumer. Any fellow who reaches directly to the consumer is called as the D2C market, direct to consumer. Today, we are talking about fancy words. Why are they considered to be so very profitable? The reason is because they are mitigating all the channels and directly going to the customer. There is no longer the concept of a retail commission or whatever. Or there are some hidden charges which is definitely there, but my growth potential, my margin potential are high. Now, if that has to work, you need to have a robust financial systems and transaction systems. That is where the core of it is. The whys are all answered here. You need to answer or you need to keep track of the things in a fast-paced world. Very important. Second, real-time insights are need of the hour. Real-time insights, alerts, right? You need to move from a process, you need to move from a people-oriented to a process-oriented. A simple example, I'm sure in every place there is this famous Darshini or the famous SLV hotel. But the beauty or unfortunate thing of the SLV hotel is, it will serve only in that location, and if the chef or somebody else is leave, you will realize the taste is deficient. But you go to a McDonald's or Domino's, wherever you go in India, the taste will be same. Why? Process standardization. The person who is making a McDonald's burger or a Domino's pizza is not the best of the chef. In fact, he or she may not even have entered a kitchen. But he knows what proportion, what you need to use, and that's exactly where digitization comes into play. Defining the processes, right? Focus on the core. What is your core expertise? Focus on that. Your digitization will take care of the rest, right? Remotely you can monitor from anywhere. No more extension economics. Why? Because gone are the days where we said that okay, September 30th deadline will get extended by October, October will get to November. No. Today we are talking about a government which is very, very strict, and I feel in a lot of sense it makes actually a reality. Otherwise, my September work gets completed in March. We are talking about the previous year. What happened to the current year? Yes or no? And this is where all of this becomes very handy. So the next important question is, what do I digitize? So you said everything you have to digitize. What do I digitize? Start off with your accounting, your automation of accounting. Now, most of us pay vendors whenever we feel like that is the biggest problem. What most of the largest corporate companies do, very simple. Every Wednesday or every alternate Wednesday is the payment for vendors. Advantage, all your accounting at one go you have it. Today what we do, vendor came, okay sir, Google Pay scanner print. Go to online banking, send. Go to some other method, send. Simply avoid this. A single day on which all payments get. And until that day, aggregate all the transactions. A very, very simple rule. 1st to the 10th of the month, all the invoices accumulate. 12th, make the payment. 10th to or 11th to 20th, whatever is there, this is the date. 20th to 30th, this is the date. Salary, this is the date. Put off, cut off lines. Unless we draw that line of discipline within us, this will not work. Second, invoice and collections. Keep a specific day on which you want to mandatorily invoice. Or have a specific hour in the day in which you want to reconcile your invoices, your collections. If you have accountants, ask them what is your collection, how have you collected, is that receivable done? Have a robust receivable and a collection management system. And last, taxes and reconciliation. Be very, very clear. What you earn 30% does not belong to you. Okay, slab rates might differ. At the end of the day, what you earn 30% does not belong to you. What I get the benefit for 30%, those are not discussion points. I am talking about what you are ought to do. Right? So 30% does not belong to me. Of course, 10% goes off as TDS in certain cases, 2% in the case of some other line of business. The balance is basically what you need to set aside, and be very clear. How many of us have prepared a simple cash forecast budget? I think those are the need of the hour. Right? Compare. Every Sunday configure report in your system that it will send you at this time a profit and loss report, a comparison report, a variance report, very 2 or 3 simple. Don't, with overdose, don't configure everything, you will not read anything. Right? This is like, the moment you heard of a new app or a new technology, all of us go and subscribe. When the mail comes, nobody bothers to read. Right? So therefore, configure to those which is reality and spend time onto it. Plan your tax payments, your cash outflows, your forecast, your working capital, your expansion, and this is where a whole lot of digital solutions are available today to help you out with. Right? Let's move on. Accounting automation. There are so many things which can be done in an accounting automation. In the interest of time, I'll just pick up a few of them. Right? You can use what is called as a concept called macros. These are Excel-based or simple standardized solutions. And today, writing a macro is even more easy. Right? And let me tell you, we are in the era of artificial intelligence. Right? There's a very interesting app which is, especially in the last 3 weeks, it has made a lot of buzz. What is the name of that? ChatGPT. If you have not created an account there, please go ahead and create. It will give you answer to almost anything and everything in the world. I am not saying the answer is correct. I said it will give you an answer. I never said it will give a correct answer. It will give you some indication. Use that. Apply the human intelligence. Remember, a machine can never overtake the sense or the capability of a human mind. But what artificial intelligence can do is empower you to do better and faster. I had to send a proposal, and it was the first time I am doing a proposal for a particular company in a particular industry. I had no clue about the industry. All that I did is I went to ChatGPT, wrote about multiple commands and texts, got all the responses for my proposal, validated by calling up the person and saying, hey, generally this is how it is done, how do you do it? The client understood that I am more knowledgeable. How did I get the knowledge? AI. Right? And I validated every process and every understanding. The client says, oh yeah, this is how it is done, sir, but this is what we don't do. My gap report was ready. Right? While I am writing my proposal itself, I already have my audit report ready. What more I want? And this is the era of intelligence we are speaking of. Right? OCR recognition, or using an API-based enabled software which can integrate with your e-invoicing and all of those things. Let me tell you the future. I'm going to tell you, my dear friends, when e-invoicing becomes mandatory for every line of business, the government will literally get to know every product which you manufacture and sell. So your half accounting is done there itself. Why? Because today my sale is recorded. I have to mention to whom I am purchasing, who is purchasing from me. So therefore, if I purchase from somebody else, he will mention my GST number. My sales, purchase, everything is recorded. Only what I require is salary. Your P&L account is ready. And today you can download the GST dump, use a software, click a button and import into Tally, Zoho Books, QuickBooks, or I don't know, whatever accounting software is there. So manual mechanism of accounting is going to disappear. Yes. We're talking about cloud accounting, contextual integration, integration with banking, APIs. I pass a journal entry in my accounting software, my payment gets processed through my bank parallelly. Right? We're talking about all of those. Right? Voice interface. Okay, Tally. Okay, Zoho. Okay, ABC. Can you tell me what is my P&L account? We are talking about that era. We are having softwares like this which can automate your very process of data entry. You put in a format, click a button, it will go. Right? We are talking about a lot of innovations there, and these are just a few examples to say about tools. Cloud accounting, one of the most commonly used, and the reason why I say Zoho Books is earlier we had QuickBooks. QuickBooks is out of business in India. There are of course other players also. There's a Make in India solution as well. Yeah. A host of these things. I'm not sure how many of them have tried this. Some of these softwares are available for free. Beauty. Invoicing. Zoho invoicing is available for free. The beauty of Zoho invoicing, it will help you to track your entire receivable management, GST, how much you need to pay, basic things. Right? And it's available for free. And let me tell you, today so many companies are coming up with their own apps and their own solutions that tomorrow technology or a software solution itself will be majoritarily available free. So those free, we need to understand how to use it for our betterment. More. These are a host of other cloud-based or on-the-go accounting softwares which are available. This is just one example, right? And there are much more. Next, a classical example is a Power BI. This is where your analytics and dashboards are configured, your real-time insights. And I'll show you a small, I think I have a clip of that. You can just click next, yeah. Just click somewhere in the center of the screen. This is a simple dashboard, right, about a business's progress. I can get to know how much is my receivables, what is the date, right? Alter the period, my report dynamically changes, right? And I can go click on any of these reasons. How many of them are 0 to 30 days overdue? How many of them? What is the date of my invoice? What is my branch-wise, location-wise? Right? Double click on one, get to know so much details. And the beauty is, this is available even onto mobile phone. Go to the next screen, please. It's also available, click once more please. Yeah, it's available on the mobile phone. A simple app like this. Right? So today technology is just a mobile phone away. But the reality is this looks very fancy, and tomorrow if I have to implement and I want to get a report, you will not get it. Because your transactions have to be streamlined. And only then you get real-time reporting. Right? Then the other thing which probably is of interest, right? What are the areas to digitize? Your operational processes. Many of the operational processes requires digitization, movement of inventory, manufacturing process, process A to process B to process C. And this is where these are handy tools which you can get started. Simple preparing SOPs, operating documents, risk matrices, right? So these are all simple things which actually can trigger that. Auditing the process is something which you have to remember. And not to forget, the Indian MSMEs are known for their innovation. I think you need to bring up that more, right? Use digital to bring up newer products, innovate. You see something very fancy in Instagram or in some of those things. Why don't you think that the Indian product can actually go ahead and do it? Go ahead and try. Right? There are so many websites. I think we were, in the inaugural session, they said that that we have so many so-called China products which is available. Why can't we bring up our own products? It is 100% possible. Very simple problem they just try to solve, right? And this is where the beauty is. Steve Jobs made a very, very nice statement, and it's called as immovation. It's not innovate. The third line, the third word, it is immovate. What is immovate? Imitate plus innovate. Copy from somebody, but make your own version of it, right? Make your own variant of it, right? And today, Desi products are solving so many problems, and today we call them as the Great Indian Jugaad. I'll just show you an example of a Great Indian Jugaad. This is in one of the hotels, split AC. Split AC. It's literally split, sir. It's literally split, right, between two things. And I'm just talking about innovation in not exactly in this sense, but similar thoughts, so many things we have, right? And you have seen that movie called Three Idiots. That one of those last scenes where every product which you see, like a bike in behind, the wheel has been modified for something else. Now, why am I speaking about all of these? You have simpler solutions to solve larger complex problems, right? And I'll give you a simple example. This is an actual story which took place. In America, one of the soap manufacturing company, when they sold a product, soap box, right? A box was sold without the soap into it. A consumer, probably paid about $100, $50. He bought that soap. Only to his surprise, he opened inside. There was no soap. It was just a box. What did he do? He went to the court of law and filed a case. For whatever reasons, I was depressed, I was deprived, what are all those stories he said, and he filed a case. And the court awarded him a sort of a relief by saying the company had to pay him, let's say $100,000. The company said, there's too much of a money and I need to avoid this. They did everything possible, and they finally came up with an X-ray machine before the product is coming out. It will scan through and see whether the soap is there or not. And they spent another $5 million for it. The same problem came in India. This fellow got to know that somebody has filed a case there, I will also file a case. He filed a case. Court said, no problem, you have been disturbed, no problem, repay the amount of the soap cost. 10 rupees was repaid. Forget 1 million, 10 rupees. Okay, some extra damages, 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, whatever. Now obviously they asked the company, what will you do to avoid? Right? Not that they didn't want to pay 10 or 20 rupees, but for them the concern was brand. He said, okay fine, in America they brought one X-ray machine, $5 million, let us bring it over here. Our MSME entrepreneur said, nothing doing. Keep one big fan at the exit of that place. Switch on that fan. The moment the fan is on, with full wind, right, if it's an empty box, it will fly away. If it has the soap, it will continue. Problem solved. How much? 5,000 rupees. And this is the Great Indian Jugaad or mentality. And we are for that, sir. We are for that. You think about yourself. The smallest of the things we would have done innovation. The smallest of the things we would have done innovation. And this is where you need to productize the innovation in a better fashion. Right? And that is where MSMEs will have to head into. Right? And we are talking about moving to the era of intelligence. Right? How do I adopt to AI? There are a bunch of these AI adoption tools. These are just a few examples of AI inbuilt accounting tools available. Some of them are US, some of them are UK, some of them are Europe, some of them are India. Combination scenario exists today, right? Era of AI. Not to forget the latest gap. I'm not sure how many of them, you have to make presentations, you have to make reports. Your Microsoft suite PowerPoint itself has got so many things. And by the way, my slides are not designed by me, my AI engine designs it for me. I only type the text. I just go to Microsoft PowerPoint and say, design this, it automatically creates it. I don't design any of my PowerPoints. Right? If you felt that this PowerPoint is very, very nice, thank you, it's because of my AI engine. Right? Excel has got so many inbuilt features. Microsoft Word has got so many inbuilt features. Let's move on. Outlook has got so many features. Let's quickly move on. And this is the newest fellow in the market, ChatGPT. Just out of curiosity, I asked him a message, how do you prepare biryani? Right? It gave me so much. And it told you, do you want to choose veg biryani or non-veg biryani also? Being a vegetarian, I chose that. Right? Other fellows can obviously choose whatever it is, right? So options are plenty in an era where we are talking about AI coming into play. So what is next for me? The last segment of my presentation, right? Increase your digital presence. Increase your digital presence. Very, very important. How do I increase your digital presence? Right? Yeah, just keep on clicking next. Website. How many of them have a website? Relocate to it. How many of them have a search engine optimization? You can click on it. Yeah. How many of them have search engine optimization? Basically optimizing your website so that if somebody searches, your name comes. Simple example. You search in website Ola taxi. Who is the first taxi you will get? Uber. You type in website Ola taxi. The first fellow who will appear in your website searches Uber. Because that is how they have optimized the web search. If anybody types Ola, first you will get Uber. Then what happens? Anybody types Uber, first you will get Ola. Right? So that's how your search engine can be optimized. Your email communication, blogging, speak, webinars, CRMs, online service, mobile apps. There are hundreds of things which you can actually go ahead and do. Right? So this is how one of the ways in which you can, see how you can best use digital presence. Right? And the second very interesting thing, embrace social media. I've seen a lot of these MSME entrepreneurs. I've seen literally, right? He has 3 or 4 YouTube videos. He has one mobile phone with WhatsApp business. WhatsApp for business. For your information, WhatsApp for business is different from WhatsApp. If you're not aware, go and explore that. It has so many inbuilt features. You can create catalogs. And let me tell you, that fellow, being a 2-member show, has 10 lakh rupees revenue in e-commerce, delivering products. Any fellow who calls up, he's just kept one IVR number. If you want this particular product, say yes. If you want this particular product, say yes. If you have any other clarification, mention your details. If you press 1, within 2 minutes, your message will come from WhatsApp. Very, very simple integration, sir. No complicated this thing. In that, all your product, videos, features, everything will come. And after that, you will go and click that link. What do you get? Payment option. Then your address, your product gets delivered. Right? So we are talking about embracing technology to such an extent that today it is all available. And I just have one more slide. Is it out of battery? So the biggest moment, just like how our screens become blank, right? Our minds also sometimes have to become blank so that we start afresh. And that's the most important thing, let me tell you, my dear friends. It all starts from you when it comes to digitization. So my key message, ignore the slides. My key message is, A, if you are bringing anything to digitization, it's to start with you, leadership. You need to have the ability, you need to have that mindset, you need to have that thought process. B, adopting technology. Where can I use technology and how can I use technology? C, ensuring you have the resources, especially people. It could be juniors, it could be seniors, it could be, way higher, right? That is the third thing. And fourth, processes. Processes, right? I spoke of leadership, I spoke of talent, I spoke of processes. Processes basically defining standardized process. Come what may, this is the protocol I need to follow. And last but not the least is technology. Remember, technology is there only to make you better, not to make you a slave of it. Right? On that note, my key message, the last message you can just probably try to answer. It's working, not working? Yeah, we'll just come back to this. The previous one. The key message is this. Peter Drucker, one of the famous management guru, he says a very, very important line. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. You may have made your best of your plans, best of your expansion, best of your thought process. But if the culture is not there from the entrepreneur or from the accountant or the senior management, your entire strategy will go for toss. And therefore, today, let me tell you, India is the cusp of innovation, and we spoke about $25 trillion, $50 trillion, I don't know how many other trillion dollars. But most importantly, if there was a time to be in India, it is now. If there was a time for MSMEs, it is now. And if there was a time to digitize, the time is now. Thank you so much.
Hands together for this gentleman. Thank you, sir, for an enlightening and entertaining presentation on the right way to go with digitization. We appreciate having these mysterious areas clarified in such simple way with easy examples. Now I request CA Sinam Bhatt sir to give him a memento, which is like token of appreciation and gratitude.
Thank you.